everyone. So, first of all, Reinout Te Brake, 44 years old. Have an amazing son who actually gets 2 languages and starts to code very carefully. What I do, I believe in an ecosystem of games where user acquisition is taken high consideration, and that means on several levels. Well, you have talked today to Policy, which is a great partner of ours, but it's GetSocial, it's Mobilizer when it comes to soft launch, social engagement, get a community, that's GetSocial, Creel, how loyalty programs can actually connect with the gaming space. That's basically what we want to do. We want to help game developers to become potentially successful.
So you're here today with GetSocial.
Yeah.
Why is it important to build social engagement and community into a mobile game?
Well, that's a no-brainer. If you look at World of Warcraft, it needed a community. The community was actually carrying on the messaging that World of Warcraft was doing. I think that everyone needs a community, and once you have a community and you have a DNA, you have a profile of what you pretend or what you want to be as a developer, let's say puzzle games, or you want to be like a shooter, then that is the DNA that you're going to carry, and so your community will actually be your follower. So from one game to another, to another, to another, to another, and all the very interesting talks that we're hearing about lifetime value and whatsoever, it all starts with retention. And retention means if someone doesn't like your first game, maybe they like your second, your third, or your fourth. So portfolio thinking, cross promotion, community across all your games, and then eventually, yeah, you need to start making revenues one way to another. And that's what we call the social in-app purchase, because no one did actually pay for Candy Crush, what they say, but still they made 1 billion. So obviously, if I would have known who was paying for Candy Crush, that might have actually convinced me to do so the same.
Okay. So what's the challenge of building a good community? How do you actually go about doing it meaningfully?
You can't do it by reaching out to a gazillion people. It is still a high quality way of communication. So what we believe very much in is that once we read out your phone, we see if you have Kakao, Line, WhatsApp, whatsoever. We don't believe so much in Facebook and Twitter anymore. And for the record, I deleted my Facebook and Twitter to actually make a statement, because I'm not doing anything with the messaging I'm getting. Totally not, and I'm losing time, reading my timeline, so to speak. So if I would know what you would like, I'm not going to bore you with a word game. I would actually maybe shoot forward, for instance, of saying a shooting game, and then you get it in your WhatsApp, and it says like, hey dude, I found a great game, you might want to try it. That's 7 times more believable or intriguing to try. And right now what we're seeing is that a lot of people are actually advertising, and CPIs go through the roof. I think in all essence a good community is where the top spenders would like to see more people to get in, so they could actually be your true ambassadors, or your top free to play, meaning they're not paying anything, but they like the game, they completely swallow the game, and they will invite people too. And that makes the mass come in. And that's something you need to cherish, and you can do that with GetSocial, for example, with activity feeds, bringing new items, but also say on a Friday evening, you know what, one big party, 30% off, whatsoever. It's like in a constant communication back and forth, so also the community itself can actually give you feedback. Which I think is where World of Warcraft was so very successful, because they had shitloads of community managers.
And in terms of any predictions for the way that people are going to develop their communities in the future, have you got any particular ideas that you think will stand out? We've seen a lot, for example, recently with mobile video and esports, and the way that people are now watching, say, a game that maybe being streamed on Twitch as part of an esports contest, and they're watching that on their phone, and then they're going back and playing the game because they're getting engaged that way. Are there any other examples of that out there?
Interesting, yeah. So, funny enough, when I left Spill, I looked at esports, and then I looked at guys 18, 30 years old that were actually the best in playing one of those games out there. So there were tournaments. And today everyone is saying esports, and I'm still sort of baffled by all the terms. So to me, esports are still the guys that play professional, like the Messi, Ronaldo, but then and then you have the tournaments. And there's a bit of a difference. So you would start with tournaments, and then eventually you become maybe in esports. But tournaments, I think more and more people would like to play against, with each other. Those are the tournaments. That is a community. Funny if you can win certain pricing money, whatever. But yeah, it could actually occupy people for weekends, days, nights, whatever. So I think that's a very interesting thing to follow, because yeah, everyone is saying like engagement and esports are 2016, and then some people add VR to it, which I'm actually putting back to 2018 and 19, but it's coming, I guess. Yeah, interesting you asked me that question. Esports is definitely, if you can define it as tournaments where people love to play with and against each other, then I think that is the whole thing, the whole essence that we were already saying. Engagement. Without engagement, no community. And without that, I think chances on success will go down, because your UA then is becoming more and more important. I heard a very interesting statement of someone that's saying like, if UA becomes your main source of traffic, you're effed. And that's, I think, a nice closure of this.
Thank you very much.